We have a number of residents, particularly residents living near warehouse environments, that experience poor air quality on a daily basis.
And when you have a health condition or sensitive, you don't want that kind of pollution in your house.
The best solutions are data-driven. When people are given the right data, they will make the right decisions for my community and communities across Chicago and the region.
So NASA has this new initiative, and it's called Earth Science to Action. And part of what we're doing is we want to understand the sources of air pollution and how it gets transported in the atmosphere. And these stakeholders are able to make the air safer to breathe.
Ground level ozone, it physically burns your lungs. NO2 is a toxic gas. It is linked with pediatric asthma. PM2.5, the small particles you breathe in, they're small enough that they can go through your lungs into your bloodstream. TEMPO stands for Tropospheric Emissions Monitoring of Pollution. It will measure air pollution over North America every daylight hour. This is really going to be a game changer, helping us understand pollution at the neighborhood scale.
2, 1, ignition, engines full power, and lift off. Intelsat 40E, go Intelsat.
Today's a really exciting day for both NASA and NOAA. Today the TEMPO satellite started its first scans of North America, and we've got 3 aircraft in the air flying over Chicago. We've got dozens of instruments on the DC-8 getting the in situ levels of air pollutants and greenhouse gases, and then flying above us right now is the G3 and the G5 with remote sensing payload. That's a very exciting day, historic day. We've been waiting over a decade for the TEMPO instrument to start collecting data.
You know, you build a satellite, it takes years to build it, and you test it in the lab, but you never know if it's going to work. When you ship it across the country, you put it on a rocket, you launch it into space. And so yesterday we found out that TEMPO really is going to be able to measure air quality over North America. One of the exciting things about this Aroma Stacks field campaign is it's going to help us calibrate and validate the TEMPO satellite. So while we're flying both the remote sensing and the sensors that are measuring what's in the atmosphere down low, TEMPO is scanning overhead. And so we're going to use that data to help improve the precision and accuracy of the TEMPO satellite. We're on an airbase, Wright-Patterson Air Base in Dayton, Ohio. There's jets taking off and transports taking off, and we have hundreds of people here. We want to understand the sources of air pollution and how it gets transported in the atmosphere. And what's wonderful is we'll work with our partners at EPA and NOAA to help make sure that NASA and these stakeholders are able to make the air safer to breathe.
If there's one takeaway from this mission, what we want to learn is how can satellites help us address air quality issues. We have this new asset into space with TEMPO, and it'll be operating over the next few years. So this is a pathfinder for us to integrate these types of measurements into air quality decision making. So there's a lot of people that are doing research in the community, and as we partner up and put our assets together, we can actually do something bigger than any individual component could do alone.
Right now in the United States, the EPA has air pollution monitors in certain neighborhoods around the US, but we don't know the air pollution in every neighborhood. The TEMPO satellite is going to get every hour during the daytime. We'll see how pollution changes from the morning to the afternoon to the evening. We'll see pollution get transported from one neighborhood to another, and we'll be able to see where we don't currently have monitors, so we'll get a good picture of environmental inequalities.
Factories, industrial centers, intermodal facilities, transport hubs, warehouses, all of these facilities have higher emissions than other locations in the city. Certain communities don't have the ability to influence decisions on where these facilities are located. Because of that, many of these facilities are located in disadvantaged communities, which is an environmental justice issue in the city. One of the interesting things about Chicago is that we're rapidly advancing our ability to characterize air quality in the city. And one of the things we're learning is that the observations that we have don't necessarily agree with the lived experience of some of the residents in the city.
My family members, we all have asthma. And so air quality is really important because we live in a hot climate, and that you want to open up your windows, but you know if you open up your windows, not only are you going to get wind, but you're going to get polluted wind. And when you have a health condition or sensitive, you don't want that kind of pollution in your house. Your house is your sacred space where you can be joyful and well in.
Chicago happens to be the largest freight hub in North America, which means we have a whole bunch of heavy-duty vehicles coming through, a number of warehouses. And as they sit and idle, they'll be polluting in their environments. And if you happen to be a resident in a warehouse environment, you're going to be exposed to that much more pollution.
We have adjacent communities. They have much higher street traffic from trucks, and the pollution there is off the hooks. And you just walking down the street, you see truck after truck after truck. And so those are in underserved neighborhoods. They have to live with a high level of day-to-day pollution. It doesn't take Canada being on fire for them to suffer.
Air quality in Chicago is a complex news story because it doesn't affect everybody equally. For one thing, there are two major things that lead to bad air quality in Chicago. You've got locally generated emissions, the interaction with sunshine, which leads to ozone and particulate matter. But as we've seen, especially this year, you have non-locally driven air quality issues, such as that comes from the Canadian wildfires. So Tempo is an amazing instrument. When we talk about both climate models that DOE runs and spaceborne missions that NASA runs, it's like your digital camera. It's getting higher and higher in resolution. That's why we are partnering with the Aroma and STACS missions over Chicago. We're really creating actionable data that will really make a difference in people's lives.
I am really impressed with how much big data has allowed us to really drill down and really understand our community. When you go and ask for policy and fiscal support, to have the science with it, so it's not just what we think, but it's what we know.
We have Tempo working. We know it's working. We have the Aroma and STACS data sets that are going to help us calibrate it. And in October, the data is going to be flowing into the NASA Atmospheric Science Data Center. And so that will be publicly available to anyone. In particular, we know that our partners at the EPA and NOAA are excited to use this data to understand air pollution in the United States, but also be able to use it to improve the air quality forecast.